I want to bring in now Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief at thedailywire.com and author of the new book, The Right Side of History, How Reason and Moral Purpose Made the West Great. You and I were going to talk about sundry things tonight, and now we are focused in on something that you have been watching, and that is how Democrats deal with this. Your first reaction, and then I want to bring in some tweets from some of those 2020 Democratic hopefuls.
Well, it's astonishing to watch as the Democrats turn their lonely eyes from Robert Mueller, who was supposed to be the deus ex machina who stopped President Trump, to the Southern District of New York. They're doing that in real time. They're claiming that maybe, just maybe, once the entire report is released, then it will tell us something different from the fact that there are no indictments, as we now know. And it will be amazing to watch them shift the goalposts. I'm seeing the media already suggesting that the big story is that President Trump is going to pounce. Whenever Republicans are exonerated of something, then it becomes a story about Republicans pouncing. It's never about media malfeasance for 2 years, suggesting beyond the evidence at hand that President Trump was responsible for deep, dark collusion with Russia that ended with Hillary Clinton losing the election.
You know, Ben, you and I have talked before, and it's always interesting when people jump the shark on things. So Republicans should hold their enthusiasm on behalf of the president, and Democrats should hold their enthusiasm either thinking it's a dud coming out in this report and getting thirsty for more investigations. Here's what we have. 2020 Democratic hopeful Kamala Harris, senator, says this in a tweet. Americans deserve to know the truth now that the Mueller report is complete. The report must be released immediately, and AG Barr must publicly testify under oath about the investigation's findings. We need total transparency. Has William Barr, either previously in his confirmation hearings or anything you've heard since, Ben, said anything other than he will follow the rules and regulations and release the report? It's his intention to release as much as possible.
No, I mean, I've heard nothing except that from Attorney General Barr, and I would expect that he releases as much as he legally can, because if I'm President Trump, that's actually what I want released. Plus, AG Barr has already vowed that that's exactly what he's going to do. We keep hearing that President Trump obstructed the investigation over and over and over. There is not one iota of evidence that he actually obstructed Robert Mueller, and I wouldn't expect him to obstruct Attorney General Barr here either, because the bottom line is no indictments. If there were going to be more indictments, you would expect it to be of all the people around President Trump. Forget about President Trump himself. You know, there are people on the left suggesting that the reason no indictments came down is supposedly because you can't indict a sitting president. Okay, but you could indict everybody around him. None of those people got indicted. So that suggests that this may be a giant nothing burger. We don't know yet. But the Democrats already suggesting preemptively that this is all a giant cover-up is just as they shifted the goalpost from it was collusion first, then it was obstruction. Now they're shifting to preemptive narratives about cover-ups that haven't taken place yet.
You are crisscrossing the country often. I see you popping up at universities and other places and talking to future voters, present voters. What is the temperature of people out there about this subject matter? We saw recently polling which showed that there was a growing number of Americans who felt like this was, in fact, what the president has called it, a witch hunt, which means it's far and broad and wide. And what are people telling you?
I mean, what I keep hearing over and over is that people were ready to hear the facts, but in the end, they don't feel like there was going to be much that comes down. And if it turns out that not much came down, after Democrats overpromised for years on end that there would be hard evidence that President Trump skewed the election with the help of Vladimir Putin, that's going to blow back on them. I mean, you promise your base that you're going to get President Trump out of office and have him frog marched like the Krasenstein brothers, and things are going to go wrong for you when that turns out not to be true.
This is just coming in. Senator Booker's campaign has just released an email urging supporters to add their name to a list if they support the release of the Mueller report. If you sign, it leads to a page to donate to the campaign. This is coming from my executive producer, normally on Outnumbered Overtime. So fundraising off of this. Again, I mean, the idea of jumping the shark is what gets you in trouble with the American people, because, as you said, they just want the facts.
I mean, it is such an obvious ploy. Every single thing that can be used for a fundraiser is used for a fundraiser by candidates for political office, obviously. But preemptively suggesting that Barr is going to engage in a cover-up, so sign a petition and give me money, is a pretty absurd use of everybody's time and money.
Ben, you know, in terms of this new book that you've come out with and talking with young people, and we saw the president sign an executive order this week on free speech, the idea that people listen and talk to each other from every political avenue. What's going on right now should be a bipartisan effort to find out how much, if in fact, because we already know they did, how much the Russians meddled in our presidential election. I want to give you last word on where you think we are right now.
I mean, I think where we are is that Democrats are going to have to double down on what they already believed about President Trump. And I think that the best way for President Trump to be fully exonerated with the American public is for Barr to release as much as possible, which I think he will do. Is that going to stop the investigations? No. Will it stop the Democrats from looking to the SDNY? Of course not. But at the very least, it should give us a final word on what happened with Trump and Russia in 2016. So far, the only evidence available appears to be nothing criminal.
Yeah, everybody's saying the same thing. They want to see it all. And now we've got Senator Booker. Of course, he's a 2020 Democratic presidential hopeful, trying to raise some donation money off of it. But we all want the same thing, and that's just the facts. Ben Shapiro, always great to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thanks so much.